It begins the way modern Hollywood stories often do, not with a whispered secret or a court document, but with a photograph, polished, filtered, and uploaded for millions to see. A birthday party, wrapped in holiday lights, fake snow drifting across a carefully staged scene, and a bright red Mercedes convertible gleaming like a prop from a dream sequence. On the surface, it is a celebration. Underneath, it is a statement. Lauren Sánchez has turned 56, and this birthday carries a new title with it. For the first time, she celebrates not just as a media personality, not just as a pilot, philanthropist, or former journalist, but as the wife of Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon, one of the most powerful men in the world. A man whose name alone reshaped how we shop, how we work, and how we understand wealth in the 21st century. In Hollywood, birthdays are rarely just about age. They are about timing, alliances, visibility, and control of narrative. And this one, glittering with celebrity guests and designer coats, feels less like a private moment and more like a chapter carefully added to a much larger story. Khloe Kardashian's Instagram post does not read like casual praise. It reads like an endorsement. "The perfect night," she writes. "Lauren, you are simply the best." The words matter because in Hollywood, who speaks for you can be as important as what is being said. Kris Jenner appears beside her daughter, smiling, styled, perfectly aware of the camera's gaze. This is not accidental proximity. This is cultural alignment. Lauren Sánchez stands at the center of it all, dressed in black, her outfit curve-hugging and confident, topped with a leopard coat that suggests both glamour and dominance. Her hair falls in soft waves, effortless but intentional. Every detail says control. This is not a woman hiding behind her husband's fortune. This is a woman announcing her place beside it. For viewers watching from afar, especially those who grew up before social media blurred the line between celebrity and audience, this moment may feel overwhelming. Too polished. Too perfect. But in Hollywood, perfection is often a mask. And masks are worn for a reason. This birthday is not just about celebration. It is about arrival. To understand why this moment matters, we must rewind. Lauren Sánchez did not come from the shadows of wealth. Her rise followed a different path, one built through television studios, newsrooms, and relentless visibility. She learned early how to speak to a camera, how to carry herself under pressure, and how to shape a story in real time. These are not small skills. In fact, they are survival tools in an industry that rewards confidence but punishes hesitation. Before Jeff Bezos, Lauren Sánchez was already known, but in a contained way. Recognizable, respected, yet still operating within the traditional boundaries of media. After Bezos, those boundaries dissolved. When their relationship first became public, it did not arrive gently. It arrived with headlines, leaked messages, and a media frenzy that blended curiosity with judgment. The public did not simply observe the relationship. It interrogated it. Was this love? Was this ambition? Was this escape? Was this power? Hollywood loves a question mark, and Lauren Sánchez became one. Critics dissected her appearance, her past relationships, her voice, her confidence. Supporters praised her intelligence, her charisma, her independence. The truth, as always, lives somewhere in between. But what cannot be denied is this. She did not retreat. She did not apologize. She leaned forward. That forward motion is visible at the birthday party, where the guest list reads like a map of modern influence. The Kardashians are not just reality stars. They are architects of attention. They understand optics better than almost anyone alive. Their presence signals legitimacy within a very specific ecosystem, one where image is currency and narrative is power. Kris Jenner's appearance is especially telling. She is not merely a guest. She is a gatekeeper. When Kris shows up, it means something. It means approval. It means connection. It means that this woman, Lauren Sánchez Bezos, is now part of a broader cultural machinery. Kim Kardashian's absence from photographs, followed by her public birthday message, adds another layer. Even when not physically present, Kim ensures her voice is heard. Her words describe Lauren as the ultimate girl's girl, someone who uplifts others. In Hollywood language, this is a character defense. It reframes perception. It counters critique. And perception is everything. The party itself feels almost cinematic. Fake snow falling indoors. Holiday lights reflecting off polished surfaces. A luxury car positioned like a symbol rather than a vehicle. This is not randomness. This is staging. Hollywood does not just throw parties. It builds scenes. Scenes tell stories. The story here is one of triumph, acceptance, and elevation. Lauren Sánchez is not standing on the edge of power. She is standing inside it. But power in Hollywood is never free. It comes with expectations, with scrutiny, with a constant need to perform stability even when the ground is shifting. Jeff Bezos, for all his wealth, understands this. His public transformation over the years has been dramatic. From the quiet, almost awkward tech founder to a muscular, confident figure stepping into elite social circles, his image has evolved alongside his relationship with Lauren. This is not coincidence. It is rebranding. Together, they represent a new kind of power couple. Not traditional Hollywood royalty, but something more hybrid. Tech money meets media fluency. Corporate dominance meets celebrity culture. And the world is watching to see how it plays out. As the night unfolds in photographs, smiles frozen in perfect lighting, one question lingers beneath the sparkle. Is this celebration a culmination or a beginning? Because in Hollywood, the moment you arrive is often the moment the real test begins. And this birthday, wrapped in luxury and influence, may be less about turning 56 and more about stepping into a role that will define the next chapter of Lauren Sánchez's life. A role written not just by love, but by power, expectation, and the unforgiving spotlight of public attention. And this is only the beginning. Before the private jets, before the Venetian wedding, before the carefully staged photographs that now circulate around the world within seconds, Lauren Sánchez lived a very different version of visibility. It was not quiet, but it was earned slowly, built through routine, pressure, and persistence. Long before she became a global headline, she was learning how to survive in an industry that watches women closely and forgives them rarely. Lauren Sánchez came of age professionally in television news, a space that demands perfection while offering very little protection. Early mornings, unforgiving lighting, constant evaluation, and the unspoken rule that a woman's relevance has an expiration date. You were expected to be informed but never intimidating, confident but never commanding, visible but never distracting. Every appearance was a test, and every mistake could follow you for years. She worked as a reporter and anchor, delivering stories that were never about her. This is an underrated discipline. To stand before millions and keep the focus away from yourself requires control. It requires humility mixed with ambition. You must project authority without ego, warmth without weakness. Over time, Lauren mastered that balance. Her career was not defined by a single viral moment. It was defined by consistency, by showing up, by staying ready, by understanding that credibility is built in small, unglamorous steps. These years shaped her relationship with attention. She did not chase it blindly, nor did she fear it. She learned how to use it. Unlike many who later enter elite circles, Lauren did not come from inherited wealth or protected privilege. Her background was grounded in work. That distinction matters, because it informs how she moves through power. She understood hierarchy. She understood scrutiny. And she understood that survival often depends on reading the room before speaking. As time passed, her interests widened. Aviation became more than a hobby. It became a symbol of independence, control, and precision. Entrepreneurship followed. Philanthropy entered the picture. Reinvention became a pattern, not an exception. Each shift challenged expectations about who she was supposed to be. Hollywood, however, prefers simplicity. It prefers women to stay in clearly labeled boxes. Journalist, anchor, host. Once a woman begins to blur those lines, curiosity turns into suspicion. Who does she think she is now? That question lingered quietly long before Jeff Bezos entered the narrative. When Lauren Sánchez and Jeff Bezos first crossed paths, she was not an unknown figure suddenly elevated by proximity to extreme wealth. She had her own resume, her own professional history, and her own understanding of influence. But when their relationship became public, nuance disappeared. The story broke loudly. Private messages were exposed. Timelines were dissected. The public reaction was swift and unforgiving. Headlines framed the relationship as scandal before context. Lauren was reduced to a symbol rather than a person, her identity flattened into a single role within a much larger drama. This is where public perception hardened. In many narratives, Jeff Bezos was portrayed as a man in transition, rediscovering himself after decades of corporate responsibility. Lauren, meanwhile, was framed as disruption, temptation, catalyst. These labels followed her relentlessly, repeated until they felt permanent. The imbalance was striking. Hollywood and media culture have long been more comfortable interrogating women than men, especially when power is involved. A powerful man's choices are analyzed as strategy or reinvention. A woman's presence is questioned as motive. Lauren Sánchez absorbed the full weight of that double standard. What made her response unusual was what she did not do. She did not disappear. She did not offer tearful public explanations. She did not attempt to soften herself for approval. Instead, she maintained composure. That decision unsettled critics. In celebrity culture, contrition is often expected, even when it is not owed. Silence paired with confidence can be interpreted as defiance. And defiance, particularly in women, is rarely rewarded. Yet Lauren stayed visible, controlled, measured. Years of media training showed in every appearance. She understood that narratives move faster than facts, and that chasing correction often feeds the story rather than ends it. Jeff Bezos, at the same time, was undergoing a public transformation of his own. His image shifted noticeably. The reserved founder evolved into a more physically confident, socially present figure. Media coverage began focusing on his reinvention, his health, his personal happiness. Lauren stood beside him through this transition, often absorbing criticism that might otherwise have been directed elsewhere. In this way, she became both partner and buffer, a role history has assigned to many women connected to powerful men. But unlike many before her, she did not shrink. Her background had prepared her for this level of scrutiny. She knew that the camera does not just record, it interprets. That absence creates speculation. That every choice, including silence, communicates something. She chose consistency. Invitations did not stop arriving. Social connections quietly strengthened. Elite circles, less concerned with public outrage than public stability, took note of her resilience. In private spaces, survival matters more than sentiment. By the time Lauren Sánchez became Lauren Sánchez Bezos, she was no longer fighting to justify her presence in powerful rooms. She had endured public judgment at its loudest and remained standing. That endurance carries weight in Hollywood. Which brings us back to the birthday celebration. The lights, the guest list, the carefully chosen symbolism. None of it reads the same without understanding this history. This was not a woman celebrating youth or novelty. This was a woman marking distance traveled. Distance from the newsroom. Distance from the scandal narrative. Distance from the version of herself others tried to define. In Hollywood, survival often looks like silence. Arrival looks like confidence. And this birthday, staged with intention and witnessed by cultural power brokers, was not a plea for acceptance. It was a confirmation that acceptance had already happened. Lauren Sánchez did not stumble into this chapter of her life. She arrived prepared. Every Hollywood saga has a moment when it shifts from private to irreversible. A moment when whispers become headlines and personal lives are pulled into public courtrooms without walls. For Lauren Sánchez and Jeff Bezos, that moment arrived suddenly and with remarkable force. The story did not unfold gently. It erupted. What had been a discreet relationship, known quietly in select circles, was suddenly exposed to the full glare of global media. Private messages were published. Intimate details were discussed by strangers. The language of tabloid coverage blurred into mainstream news. What mattered most was not accuracy, but speed. Once the story broke, it took on a life of its own. Jeff Bezos, at the time still navigating the end of a long marriage, became the subject of fascination rather than condemnation. His narrative was framed as transition, reinvention, a powerful man stepping into a new chapter. The tone was curious, sometimes even sympathetic. Lauren Sánchez's narrative, however, hardened quickly. She was no longer introduced by her career or accomplishments. She was described through implication, suggestion, moral judgment. The framing was subtle but consistent. She was positioned as the disruption, the spark that set events in motion. This imbalance was not accidental. It reflected a familiar pattern. Hollywood and media culture have long separated men and women into different moral categories. Men are allowed complexity. Women are reduced to symbolism, especially when wealth, marriage, and power intersect. As the headlines multiplied, something else happened quietly. Lauren became a projection screen. Public frustration with inequality, with billionaire excess, with broken institutions, all found a target. She was discussed not as a person, but as an idea. And ideas are easier to judge than humans. The pressure was immense. Every appearance was scrutinized. Every absence interpreted. Even neutrality was read as intent. For many, this would have been a breaking point. Lauren did not break. She did something far more unsettling to critics. She stayed composed. There were no public breakdowns, no reactive interviews, no dramatic counterstatements. Instead, there was restraint, measured visibility, a controlled presence that suggested preparation rather than panic. Years of media experience revealed their value in this moment. Lauren understood something crucial. The public rarely rewards emotional explanations. It consumes them and moves on. Silence, when paired with confidence, creates ambiguity, and ambiguity slows judgment. Jeff Bezos, meanwhile, recalibrated. His public image shifted noticeably during this period. Coverage began to emphasize his physical transformation, his optimism, his openness about personal change. The narrative leaned toward rebirth. A man rediscovering himself after years of corporate intensity. This contrast mattered. Lauren's relative quiet allowed Bezos' reinvention to dominate the storyline. Whether intentional or instinctive, the effect was clear. Attention moved forward. The past, while not forgotten, lost urgency. But silence did not mean retreat. Behind closed doors, relationships were tested and reinforced. Invitations that continued to arrive signaled something important. Elite circles, less driven by outrage than by stability, value resilience. They watch who survives pressure without imploding. Lauren passed that test. Public outrage, loud but fleeting, rarely aligns with private power. What matters behind the scenes is reliability, discretion, the ability to withstand scrutiny without creating chaos. Lauren demonstrated all three. As time passed, the tone of coverage softened. Not because opinions changed, but because fatigue set in. New scandals replaced old ones. Attention moved on. This is how public storms end, not with resolution, but with exhaustion. When Lauren re-emerged more visibly, it was on her own terms. Carefully chosen appearances. Controlled messaging through imagery rather than words. Each step signaled steadiness. By the time engagement rumors surfaced, the shock had faded. What once seemed controversial now felt inevitable. The narrative had shifted from scandal to outcome. In Hollywood, survival often rebrands itself as destiny. This phase of the story reveals something essential. Power is not just wealth. It is endurance. The ability to let noise burn itself out while you remain still. Lauren Sánchez learned that lesson early, and she applied it without apology. When she later stood beside Jeff Bezos as his wife, it was not the beginning of her story under scrutiny. It was the conclusion of its most volatile chapter. The woman who faced the world after the leak was not the same woman who entered it. She was quieter, sharper, more deliberate, and Hollywood noticed. Because in an industry obsessed with spectacle, restraint can be the most powerful move of all.